Hi everyone, welcome back to Dark Fae Tarot. You are joining me on the end of another cloudy day in Brussels. Welcome to new subscribers, welcome to those who already know me. So yes, without further ado, I'm doing a collab with Gigi over at Adekrat, and we came up with this tag called Healing Feeling Decks. We're really in this part of the world, we're at the end of winter basically, and it's just really nice. This is the bit where it's just kind of like there's a silence before like all the spring comes up, and yeah, we just came up with this tag. I thought it'd be really nice and simple, so you can play along with it. Write your responses in the comments if you're not doing a video. If you're doing a video, that's great. Just use the tag, let us know. And yeah, and without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into it. And just so you know, these are decks that resonate with me. They may not resonate with everybody else. They may also be different categories for yourself. These are just prompts that we've come up with. So always look at things as however it fits you best. So the first prompt that we had, let me just check my notebook so I get this right. So the first prompt that we came up with was decks that have these soothing images that help you feel comforted or grounded, images that perhaps bring you back to a sense of, home. And I kind of like, okay, I'm cheating here. Okay, I'm cheating already. Like, everybody's gonna be like, okay, she's showing more than she's meant to. And I'm sure Gigi's also saying, you're showing more than you meant to. Originally, I wanted to put these two decks in there, because like, these are like my ride or die decks when it comes to comfort. Like, this is it. This is where I start and end when it comes to comfort. These are my blankets. So I've just shown you those right at the beginning already. so we've got that out of the way. But the deck that I wanted to show you with soothing images that actually makes me feel really at home and kind of like this homely vibe is the Earthcrafters Tarot by Joanna Powell Colbert, who's the artist in this, and written by Letitia Guthrie. This is an amazing deck. I worked with this deck in spring 2021. So it's now coming up to 2 years. I miss her very much because I'm working with so many decks. I don't get around to her that often, but I love this deck. This is just like home in a card. I mean, home in a deck. I mean, how much more home can I get? These are feels. These are just very calming, soothing scenes for me. Soothing, that was the word, right? Soothing. But these were just like, these are just decks. Sorry, these are just cards that make me feel like, yeah, that I'm looked after. I'm somewhere safe, comforted. I can almost smell the herbs on the table. I'm thinking of this deck, and I'm thinking of my friend Liz over at West Star Tarot. These are kind of like the decks that make me think of my friends or people that I just know through here or through life, where, we sit down and have a meal and have a chat. And this is like one of my favorite all-time cards in any deck. Like this card made me cry. It really made me think of like playing on my own and with my like magic friends and like my fairies and my dolls and doing tea parties and stuff. So yeah, growing up, like, I was between different countries quite often, and I was alone quite often, sometimes raised by my grandparents and stuff like that. And yeah, and I also, I just, for various reasons, my parents couldn't be around all the time, and I just have so many memories of just like sitting with my own books and like, I don't know if everybody else has, like, you have your own pencils and books and stuff, and just kind of like making up your own party and making up your own stories kind of thing. And this deck just has that. It's got a lot of, it's earth and it's water and it's airy, and then there's a gentleness of fire in here. There's a smokiness in here. So it just does the elements so well, so soothing. So this was the deck that I just thought of when I thought of soothing images, and these are the backs. So yeah, there you go. So that's the Earthcrafters Tarot, and Letitia Guthrie. We're talking about images here, but Letitia Guthrie's guidebook is phenomenal. Like, yeah, I think she did an amazing job, and I think the guidebook is as good as the images. Basically, it's amazing. So there you go. Okay. So the deck, the prompt after that was a deck that lights the way. And I remember when I was speaking to Gigi that, it's kind of like I was thinking of like the prompt where we feel lost or there's grief, or you just need that light of like, which direction, where do I go now, or how do I come out of this? And this was an interesting one for me because there's kind of like two. I'm cheating so much on this, I'm so sorry, but there's kind of like two, and the reason why I explain them is that the deck that I find that has really helped me with direction, the word direction, is the Urban Crow Oracle by MJ Cullen. And I got this last year and I absolutely love it. It is just such a phenomenal deck. I mean, it gives guidance. If I want guidance and if I want something to show me the way, this is the deck. So I think this is one of my favorite Oracle decks ever, I say that about all of them. But yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. It's just so good as a clarifier at the end of a reading. It's so good as a one-day pull. It's so good as an altar card. It's so good for journaling. The images are amazing. I love the artwork in this deck. The images are very, very well done. And it's an oracle deck that goes surprisingly well with many tarot decks, I find. So it's not competitive in that sense. It's very good, and then I've got the card dominance here, but it's very good at like working well with certain tarot decks. No, maybe not all of them. It's specifically, I think, very good also around the Samhain period of time. Mabon, Samhain, like that September, November, October, November vibes, those kind of feels. But this can easily, I think, also work in the summer if you wanted it to. So a great deck there. But sorry, there is a bit of cheating now going on. I just, this was difficult for me. There was another deck that always comes to mind, and when I use the word grief. So, if you want to also go from that direction, that's also possible. And the deck that comes to mind for me is actually a very personal thing. Is and I always have it at hand for that moment is Keepers of Light by Kyle Gray, artwork by Lily Moses. I absolutely love Lily Moses's artwork. I'm just a bit gutted she only did 2 decks. Basically, I was like, she was phenomenal. She is a phenomenal artist. The reason why I came up with this deck, and it's very personal, is that a couple of years ago, a member of my family passed away, and I'm sure everybody has it where they're, well, those who do tarot and oracle, obviously, but there might be a deck that you're using that week. It was not something I was expecting. And when I was told that they passed, this was the deck that happened to be on my table. It was a January, and January 2021. And when the nights are still, it's quite dark and stuff. And I remember like just taking out this deck sometimes in the evening, because I was doing evening pulls, but when the brain gets mushy and we're trying to cope with things, this was like the deck that was there. And I just remember looking at the faces, and I wasn't really paying attention to what I was looking at. I was just kind of like, they were kind of like friends at night for me to look at, because I was trying to still process the news, and I'm sure that that's something that other people have gone through, where there's that deck that just happens to be there when we go through something. And this was the deck, and I've got a very special bond, I think, with this deck in particular for that reason. It's my kind of like healing counsel deck, where they arrive, they arrive to say, we're here because you feel alone. That's how it feels to me, this deck. It's very simple images. I love Lily Moses' artwork. Very simple, peaceful, and calm, and they felt like friends. I know it might sound strange, but they felt like friends as I was going through that moment, and that's why I still have this well, I will always have this deck, but because it's a great deck, but also because it has some memories for me. So that was my, that was a bit of a cheat there. I mean, I think that the Urban Crow Oracle is brilliant though for showing me the way. but also when I'm feeling lost or feeling a loss and going through grief. I think this has been something that's helped me a lot in that sense. Okay, so hopefully no more cheating going on. Okay, so the next, get this right around. The next prompt that I have here is a deck that helps me look within. It's that soul searching moment, right? It's that bit where we go inside and we look at ourselves. And I'm looking over my table thinking, hopefully I've brought everything with me. But a deck that helps me look at how, my internal reflection process. And I think I accidentally put it away, so I'm gonna have to turn around for a second here. And a really good deck that I find I keep coming back to, it's a bit strange, is the Kuan Yin Oracle by Alana Fairchild, artwork by, and I need to not butcher the name because it was done by an artist from the East. Let me make sure I get the name right. Yeah, artwork by Zheng Hao. Okay, so the deck is just so beautiful, but it's really also a deck that when I want to look for feminine strength and feminine arising from the inside, this deck does a beautiful job of it. Now I have to be careful here because I know that there's some nudity in this deck and I know I can't show it, so I've got to be careful how I do this. But it is a deck that I find that it kind of like helps me, it helps me to see where I need to tap into my power. And I think that's a very good deck. Helps me look in at what I feel I might be missing from within and look at how can I turn that around and embrace myself. It's a very gentle deck. It is a very gentle deck, but there's a slight warmth and a fierceness in there. It is there. There's a lightness of being. That's what I find in this deck. And so when I'm looking within this deck, it kind of like allows me to go within, but not in a painful way. And the tag is healing feeling. And that's why, I wanted something that helped me look within, but it doesn't have to be like these. Sometimes we need those really tough images, but sometimes I want something very soothing. And I think this deck really just does that. It is beautiful. I feel like sometimes when I look at this deck, like there's an orchestral music going on. Alana Fairchild's guidebook is great. It's very in-depth in this one. She has 2 Kuan Yin oracles. I had the second one as well. But yeah, I just find that this deck is just, now here I have to be careful because there is some nudity. So I think that's what people are doing right now. They're putting their finger over the bit where there's nudity so that I don't get told off. There you go. I can't show that for too long. But yeah, it is a beautiful deck. And interestingly, whenever I'm speaking to a friend who is not into oracle cards or tarot cards, but they don't mind or they want a card pull, and I'm happy to do that. A lot of the time they're like, can you get that deck out? Like they come back to this deck, they really like it. So it's interesting how, she kind of like does very, very well also with like other female energies, I'm going to say. And yeah, I really, really love this deck. And there's a softness in there, a female softness that I absolutely love. And there you go. There's the inside, that pink, beautiful pink. So yeah, I really love this deck. Okay, so going on from there, what do we have next? And I think this was our third prompt. I already had cheated a little bit on the first 2, but the third one is decks that we can help us connect with others. And that was a really interesting one for me as well. It's like, what would I say helps me connect with others? And I think that the one that I really love is Sacred Destiny by Denise Linn. And there's something about this deck that feels like magic. I feel like I'm in a magical portal and I'm looking through the window of something. And this connection, the reason why I always find that it helps me connect with others is it helps me connect with the outside world. It's like there is a world out there. and it just gives me this feeling of like the world, the globe, the universe, being held, exploration, adventure. Yeah, it makes me want to like be out there and exploring and trying something and discovering life. I feel like when I've got this deck in my hand, I feel like I'm on a voyage. You know, I'm out there, and the colors are just gorgeous in this deck. I'm sure many of you have this deck because it's so popular. There is just, yeah, it's just beautiful. It's polarized snapshots, so I sometimes feel like I'm looking at the photos taken on a holiday. Although of course, you know, it'd be quite a magnificent holiday, but yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's It's a very delightful deck, and it's very uplifting, and it helps me connect with my outside world. It helps me remember that it's not just myself sitting in my own little place, that there's a whole world out there. And so yeah, I'm gonna stop on there on this one. Okay, and then the last prompt that we have, which kind of like, you know, it rides with this one a little bit, I think, you know. Let me pick this up before I walk all over it accidentally. And the last deck prompt we had was an affirming deck. And I kept thinking, well, what am I going to pick out of an affirming deck? And then it was like a no-brainer. It was like, of course, it has to be the Sacred Creators Oracle by Chris Anne. This deck I bought last summer, but I didn't use until November, when I used it with Tarot of the Abyss. This deck is just such a, it's like, you know, it's empowering, but it's simple, and it's just such a joy. It goes so well with so many tarot decks, and manifesting and doing, and it's very clear. Chris Anne's guidebook is wonderful. I think she's a great writer, and because she puts a lot into a small bit, you know, and that's like a talent there. And I really love this deck because it's just so gentle, but it's got strength. Sacred mirrors. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's wonderful. And, you know, and she's done it with sections. So some of the cards belong to a certain section. But, you know, ambush fear with your ferocious dream. And her guidebook is just, yeah, it's very, very affirming, empowering, and gets us kind of like really getting us thinking, you know, about whatever project we're working on. So I love it for that, you know. It's a really lovely deck, and I'm looking forward to getting her out this spring and summer because I think she needs to come back out again. But yeah, it's an amazing deck. So yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed us going through some of our healing feeling decks. There was, like I said, a bit of a cheating going on. You know, there is a deck that makes me feel like I've got a warm blanket on, and that's always going to be my Goddess Love and then my Goddess Dreams. They are just like my snuggle decks. They're kind of like winter and spring for me, which is very interesting, you know, going from those when we're getting dark and then when it's getting lighter. They kind of like really are around for me around that winter solstice kind of period. And yeah, they're my like ride or die kind of like, you know, I need these decks as just kind of like, you know, even just to know that they're there, just because I know the images now so well in these decks, and you've all seen them. But yeah, they're just so much, they're my faves. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. This new setup is still going on. You cannot see behind here, of course, thank God. But there's like a whole load of boxes, and then I'm trying to figure things out. And you all know the joys of like trying to figure out setting things up and the 3,000 YouTube videos that one has to go through. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Join in if you can. Would love to see your decks. And until next time, have a wonderful week. Take care now. Bye.